Welcome back everyone. In our last session, we retrieved our raw bioactivity data from CAMBL database and completed the initial pre-processing steps. So in this session, we proceed to the next stage of QSAR workflow, exploratory data analysis. And in drug discovery and chemoinformatics, we call it chemical space analysis. So QSAR modeling isn't just about throwing raw data at a machine learning algorithm. It's not a process of directly applying machine learning algorithms to raw data. Instead, it requires careful examination of chemical and biological characteristics of the dataset. So our objective is to understand the chemical space represented by these molecules to ensure that the data are reliable, consistent, and suitable for machine learning modeling. Because the quality of your model, machine learning model, is capped by the quality of your data. If experimental noise, duplicates, or poorly scaled values remain in the dataset, the model will learn artifacts rather than the meaningful structural activity relationship. So today we will clean our dataset, calculate Lipinski molecular descriptors, and use statistical validation to ensure that our data is machine learning ready. So let us begin. We first import the standard Python libraries that we need for today's session. Pandas provide data manipulation utilities and NumPy support numerical operations, while this math.library and Seaborn helps us for data visualization. And this command sense.set applies a clean plotting theme for a data visualization purpose. Next, we load the pre-processed bioactivity dataset generated in part 1. So by using this files.upload function, you can upload your files from your local system. So selecting this choose.file option, and here this is the dataset that we processed in our previous session. So this dataset contains 4 primary variables of interest: the molecule Campbell ID, the experimental IC50 values that is stored as standard value column name, and the bioactivity class, which we previously derived by binning these IC50 values into active, inactive, and intermediate activity categories. At this stage, the data have already undergone a basic pre-processing in the previous session, including removal of missing IC50 values and canonical smiles. However, we will repeat the missing value filtering again here as a part of formal data cleaning purpose. So here we begin by dropping rows with missing bioactivity values using drop NA function. If the experimental value is missing, that molecule is useless to our pipeline. Next, we are removing the intermediate compound bioactivity class entirely from our data, because we are focusing strictly on active and inactive compound. So eliminating this intermediate class from our data will reduce the noise and helps our machine learning models find a more robust decision boundaries. So here in the output, you will see the impact of this data cleaning step. We are dropping from 5,730 initial entries down to 4,149. Now we have to handle another common issue in large database: duplicate values. Because the same molecule might have been tested multiple times in different assay, so we cannot have a duplicate chemical structure that represented by a smile string. So if we have duplicate strings in our data set or duplicate values in our training set specifically, this leads to a data leakage in machine learning. Notice we use the median value for IC50 when we aggregate it. Why? Because biological assays often produce outliers, and the median is statistically more robust than the mean or average. That helps to reduce the influence of extreme values. So here in this cell, we group our data by canonical smiles and take the median of duplicate values for IC50 values to eliminate duplicate canonical smile. So after this aggregation, our dataset shifts from 4,190 rows down to the 2,443 unique chemical entries. At this point, our raw bioactivity values, IC50 values, are currently in nanomolar concentration, span several order of magnitude. So such distribution are highly skewed and unsuitable for machine learning modeling. This is the basic statistics for standard value column. So here the minimum IC50 value in our dataset is 0.2 nanomolar, while the maximum IC50 reached to 250,000 nanomolar. This represents an extreme wide range over 6 order of magnitude, which makes direct comparison challenging. can lead to skewed distribution of the data and our analysis. So to address this, we typically transform IC50 values into PIC50 values, and that is the negative logarithm of IC50 value. So we include this line of a code here because our IC50 values is in nanomolar, but the log transformation expect molar units. So this conversion make our data more linear and manageable. And then we apply the negative log transformation on this scale. So this transformation is standard practice in QSAR analysis. Now we reassign the binary labels according to PIC50 values. We classify bioactivity labels previously based on IC50 values. Now we are reassigning these labels. So for our classification, we will set a threshold equals to 6. That means PIC50 value of 6 or higher is considered as active compound, and anything below is labeled as inactive class. So here in this DF clean data set, we added the PIC50 value column in our data and relabel our bioactivity class based on PIC50 value. Next thing, we need to check if we have any duplicate in our data. So we check the duplicates for canonical SMILE column. Now in our data set, we don't have any duplicated SMILE remaining. So this is our clean data set. So let's simply compare the range of PIC50 value and IC50 values. So as we look at earlier, for IC50, we have minimum value is 0.02 molar and maximum is 250,000 nanomolar. Similarly, for PIC50, the minimum value is 3.6 and the maximum is 9.6. So comparative to IC50 values, PIC50 minimum and maximum ranges are more comparable. Let's plot the histogram to check the distribution of our data. This histogram shows the distribution of our data. Similarly, if we plot the box plot, where X is our bioactivity class, active and inactive class label, while data is equals to DF clean data set. So here, and these are the plotting parameters. So add one more command to save this plot, plt.save bar plot underscore bioactivity class dot pdf. So here this bar plot shows the distribution of bioactivity class. Class balance is important for machine learning classification tasks because highly imbalanced data set biased more towards the dominant class, which reduce the generalization performance and leads to the misleading accuracy of machine learning model. While a reasonable balanced distribution of the active and inactive class supports more reliable and robust machine learning prediction. So in this data set, we have approximately 1600 compounds in the active class and around 800 in the inactive class. This is moderately imbalanced, but highly imbalanced data. So it's not extreme, but the classifier might still favor the larger class if no adjustment are made for. So for most machine learning models, this is manageable through different techniques, like we can perform stratified sampling, class weighting, or oversampling techniques that can help ensure better balance between these classes. So that's all about the data cleaning step. We have removed duplicate values, convert IC50 value into PIC50, and check the distribution of our bioactivity class based on PIC50 labels. But here potency numbers are not enough. We need to understand the physiochemical properties of the compounds as well. So for this purpose, let's move to the next part of this session, that is Lipinski descriptor calculation. That are a set of rules that used to determine the drug likeness of the compound. To calculate this compound, we use standard bioinformatics toolkit, RDKit. So while this toolkit installing, let's take a moment to talk about Lipinski rule. So basically, Lipinski rule is a cornerstone concept in drug discovery. This rule is used to estimate whether a biological active molecule is likely to be orally bioavailable. So meaning it can be effectively absorbed and reach to its target in the body when taken by oral route of administration. So basically, Lipinski rules connect to pharmacokinetic properties of the drug like absorption, its distribution, metabolism, and excretion with specific physiochemical properties of the compound. So what this rule do? This rule states that an orally active drug generally should meet the following four criteria. Like molecular weight of the compound should less than 500 Dalton, partition coefficient or log p value, solubility of the molecule should log p value should not be greater than 5, and a compound should not contain more than 5 hydrogen bond donors atoms, and no more than 10 hydrogen bond acceptors. Okay, and the rule of 5 comes from the fact that each of these cutoff, if you see here, is the multiple of 5. So in order to calculate molecular descriptor, Lipinski descriptor, and the first thing we need to clean our canonical smile. First, one compound can appear with some extra parts such as salt, solvent, and other counter ions. For example, let me show you an example. Here, let's consider this example. This is our compound. Anything before this decimal point is our actual drug, real drug molecule, and after this point we have chlorine molecule salt. So we have our compound with, we need this compound, we need to remove the salt molecule from our. So for QSR, we only want the actual bioactive molecule. We don't need this additional part salt here. So we need to remove this. So here in this code, so this code removes the salt and other molecules from our other content from our canonical smiles and keep only the main molecule by selecting the longest string. So here in this block of code, first we remove the existing canonical smile from our data, so we can replace it with clean version. Next, we then loop through every smile in the data set. So here, if the smile contain multiple parts separated by dot, we split it by using split function, and we assume the longest smile is the real compound while shorter ones are salt or other solvent. So based on this assumption, we clean our data set using this line of code. So now in our data set, DF clean data set, we have a clean canonical smile that only contain the bioactive molecule. We remove any salt and additional compound from our data set. Next, we create a customized function to calculate Lipinski descriptor here in our Lipinski function. So here this Lipinski function take our smile string, this column, canonical smile column from our DF clean data set, and uses RDK to build a computational molecular object for our smile molecules. Next, from these objects, then we extract our 4 key descriptors. These are molecular weight, log p value, number of hydrogen donor, and number of hydrogen acceptors. So if a molecule violates many of these rules, it is likely to be an ineffective oral drug. Now, after creating this Lipinski function, let's calculate Lipinski descriptor for our DF clean smile dataset. So these are the Lipinski descriptor for our dataset. If we check the dimension of our Lipinski data, we have 2443 rows that are our actual compounds. So for each compound, we have their corresponding Lipinski descriptors. Now let's combine these both dataset into one data frame. This is our clean DF smile dataset. We want to combine our Lipinski descriptors with this dataset. So here in this line of code, we use a pandas concat function to combine DF clean smile and DF Lipinski dataset by columns. So now you can see a 4 columns for Lipinski descriptors has been added to our DF clean smile dataset. So at this time, we have 2 columns for bioactivity values. First one is our standard value column, that is IC50 values, and another one is PIC50 values. So we work with PIC50 values. We don't need this standard value column in our data. So in the next line of our code, we exclude this standard value column from our data. We excluded standard value column from our data. Let's save this data into the current session. Now we have saved our data here. Now let's move to the exploratory data analysis or chemical space analysis for Lipinski descriptors. Let's create a box plot of bioactivity classes. So we're going to create a box plot for bioactivity classes based on PIC50 values. So bioactivity class is our X variable, PIC50 is our Y variable, data equals to a DF combine, and color is based on bioactivity class. So this is the box plot of our data. So this box plot indicates the clear distribution separation of the 2 classes, active and inactive. So based on threshold for PIC50 values, that is like if it is greater than 6, the molecule active compound. If it is below 6, the molecule categorized as an inactive class. Similarly, we are going to make a scatter plot between the molecular weight and log p value. Here, our x variable to be molecular weight, while log p will be our y variable, and our data is df combined data. And we have some other parameter like hue. Color of the data points is based on bioactivity class, and size of the data points is based on PIC50 value. Greater the PIC50 value, greater the size of data point. So this scatter plot indicates the clustering of inactive and active compounds together. We examine a scatter plot of molecular weight versus log p, where the size of each point reflects its PIC50 value. This plot serves as the map of our candidate molecules. So by inspecting this scatter plot, we can ask some questions like, are larger molecules are more potent, have more potency? So in our data set, active compounds generally have higher molecular weight, but there is substantial overlapping between active and inactive compounds. So it's highlighting that the size alone isn't sufficient to separate two classes. So this is the initial inspection. Like, we need quantitative validation of our results as well to determine whether the difference between active and inactive groups are statistically significant or not. So here we use Mann-Whitney U-test to check the validity of our results. Here we create a customized function to calculate the Mann-Whitney U-test for all of our 4 descriptors. So in this function, we specify our significant threshold alpha equals to 0.05. If p-value is greater than this alpha 0.05, so we interpret our results as same distribution for both active and inactive compounds. So in this case, we fail to reject our null hypothesis. If we got results like p-value less than 0.05, so we can say that the distribution is different between active and inactive group that reject our null hypothesis. So now calculate one by one Mann-Whitney U-test for each of these descriptors. First, let's run the Mann-Whitney U-test for PIC50 value. This is our customized Mann-Whitney U-test function that we created in this above cell. Next, in this function, we need to specify our parameter that we want to analyze. Like, we want to Mann-Whitney U-test for PIC50 value from our data set, that is DF combined. Similarly, let's calculate Mann-Whitney U-test for molecular weight. The data remains same, DF combined, but here we change the column name from PIC50 to molecular weight. Similarly, for log p value, number of hydrogen donors, and for number of hydrogen acceptors. Let's combine all of these results into one. And now let's check this. So these are the combined result for all descriptors. This is the descriptor name, the statistical value. P indicates p value. Alpha is our threshold, that is 0.05, and the last column is for our data interpretation. So for this result, from these results, log p value, hydrogen bond donor, and PIC50 value all yield e value less than 0.04. That indicates these features are significantly discriminated between active and inactive compounds, while molecular weight and number of hydrogen acceptors, on the other hand, shows no significant difference between the group active and inactive group. Also, we can plot the box plot for all these 4 descriptors. Box plot for molecular weight. We don't have significant difference between two bioactivity class based on their molecular weight. Next, if we plot box plot for log p value, we have slight difference in their bioactivity classes based on log p value. Similar for number of hydrogen bond donor, we have slight difference, and for acceptor. So that's all about the exploratory data analysis, and that helps us to confirm that our class separation is clean after pre-processing. Help us to identify key discriminative features that will guide our QSAR modeling based on Lipinski descriptors. Now, in the end of this session, let's save our work, run this last cell to zip our result into a EDA result folder, and this contains all your plots and your statistical summary that we will download in our local system so that we can use these results for further analysis. We need this DF Lipinski dataset, and these results we can use in our report. So head over to this file section and click on these 3 dots and download this EDA result folder in our local system. So that's all about today. See you in session. In the next session, we will calculate additional fingerprint. Then we will proceed to machine learning model training. See you in the next class. Thank you.